Hello, welcome back to the channel. This morning was Fuji's X Summit, the summit that was delayed from last month, I believe. Should have been sometime in April, but has just hit us today on the 24th of May. I just wanted to do a quick sort of like reaction video. This is not a sort of a scripted video. I haven't really sort of written down any thoughts, but I've had a chance today, whilst I was out and about, to have a look at a few videos, a few reactions, read a few comments, and generally look at the specs. And I just wanted to react to the new X-S20 and the 8mm wide angle that Fuji dropped today, as well as the X app. So let's start with the big news, the X-S20, the latest worst kept secret for Fuji. It looks like pretty much everything that was leaked on the build up to this sort of came true. It was fundamentally a slightly redesigned XS10 with a bigger battery, a new processor, and a few more specs. But I think now that the camera's been launched, it's clear to see that actually this is quite a big deal for Fuji. I've seen a lot of negativity about it online, and I'll come to that later. But from my point of view, at least anyway, I think this is quite an interesting camera. So if you don't already know, I'll quickly gloss over. This is Fuji have basically launched the replacement for the XS10, so almost the same body, slightly different grip, but almost the same body as the XS10, but it's got the battery from the X-T5, X-T4, X-H2, X-H2S, etc. And it's got the same sensor that was in the XS10, but it's got the new the 5th generation processor that's found in the X-T5 and X-H2 and X-H2S, which means that we get the same picture quality that we had before, but much better autofocus and a few more video options. And the video side of things is where I think this camera is really going to shine. It's 6K open gate, so that 3.2 open gate recording up to 30p, got 4K 60 and full HD up to 240 frames per second. It records 422 10-bit, so the color is going to be fantastic. It's, you know, it's got F-Log2, so it's going to be great for color grading. So it's kind of like a baby X-H2S, not quite as powerful. The sensor obviously isn't going to read out quite so fast because it's not the same stack sensor. It's the old sort of non-stack sensor, but for the money, it's going to be a real powerhouse. So I think it's a really interesting camera, and I'll be honest, it's probably one that I'm going to pre-order in the next few days. I think, I'm pretty sure, I haven't 100% decided, but I think the X-T4 that I'm using right now is going to be chopped in, and I think the X-S20 is going to become my new sort of main video camera, because it fundamentally is a replacement for the X-T4 in my mind. So where the X-T5 is a replacement for the X-T3, the X-S20 is a replacement for the X-T4, because it's got the flip out screen, it's got the IBIS, you know, it's got all of the video specs, but it also happens to take pretty good pictures as well. But I think the photography side of things is not that important, because it isn't a big upgrade from before. There isn't really anything on the face of it that looks like has been upgraded that much from the XS10 from a photography point of view, other than a bit of a bump in autofocus. And from everything I'm reading in a few of the reports, that bump in autofocus is quite big compared to the XS10, and is not far behind the X-H2S. You know, we're talking very close. Not quite as good, but very very close. So I think it's a really positive camera. I know a lot of people were disappointed that they didn't launch things like X Pros and XEs and all that kind of stuff, and you know, a replacement for the X100V, etc. But those things will probably come. In fact, I'm darn sure that they will come. But obviously, with all the supply chain issues that's going on at the moment, I suspect it's they're a little bit way down the road, because things have been delayed and things are behind. We've also got the 8mm wide angle, the f3.5 wide angle. It looks like a really nice lens, really nice and compact, not too heavy, you know, not a lot of distortion by the looks of things. It's a shame that it's only an f3.5. I would like it to be a little bit brighter, but I suppose there's that compromise between weight and an aperture. It's a lens that I'm not going to rush out and buy, but probably at some point will probably invest in. Maybe when they start to appear on the second-hand market, maybe I'll grab one, maybe I'll get one sooner, I'm not sure. I do love a wide angle. I've got a Laowa 9mm f2.8, obviously not an autofocus lens, and I use that for a lot of video work. So it might well be something that I end up adding to my collection at some point. But as the lens goes, I like the fact that I'm glad that it's out. I like the fact that they've done it, but it's not a lens that I'm going to be adding. And then we've got the X app, which I have downloaded to my iPhone earlier on today, but I haven't used it yet. So I'm not going to pass comment on it, but it can't be any worse than the last one, can it? So hopefully that's a big improvement. Once I've had a chance to have a play with it, maybe I'll do a little video in a few days when I've had a chance to have a play with the X app and I know exactly what it's all about. So I'm not going to comment on something I have not really read up on and don't really know much about. But going back to that the negativity that I've seen online, I did unfortunately read some of the comments on some of the videos. I know you should never delve into the comment section, but sometimes it's interesting to see what people are thinking. And I saw some videos, people were saying that Fuji have lost their way, they've lost their soul, blah, 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 blah. Look, come on, have they really? I don't think so. I mean, everyone was crying out for the X-T5 to be a return to form, and you know they've done that. You know, they got rid of the flippy screen, they've made it photo first, it's got all the you know, the traditional dials, it's a traditional Fujifilm type camera. There will be an X Pro 4 at some point. You know, they're not gonna turn their back on their, you know, one of their original lines. It's just taking a while to arrive because of all the pressures that are going on at the moment. So the XS10 is going to sell really, really well. It's going to appeal to content creators. It's got lots of auto modes for vlogging and you know, and the things that people are doing these days that is really, really popular and is selling well. So I think it's important that Fuji get a camera out on the market that covers those bases. And they'd, let's face it, for that sort of content creator market, they were well behind Sony and Canon. Like, you know, they just didn't really have anything that could kind of sort of compete. So it's very, very important that they've got something to compete in that very, very popular market. Things like the X Pro 4 and the replacement for the XE, they're a bit more niche. You know, the people like us who, you know, love the sort of Fuji aesthetic and the old school way of using the more to sort of the modern cameras. Yeah, obviously, you know, we're a bit upset that they've not got a replacement for those and they've discontinued those, but they are going to replace them at some point. I have no doubt. You know, they're not going to give up on those lines. They're too long standing and they've been too popular in the past. So watch this space. It will come at some point. I've also seen people criticising the price because it's 250 odd pounds more expensive than the XS10. But £250 is not a lot of money for 6K open gate with 422 10-bit internal and 4K 60. Let's be honest. It's, you know, it might be more expensive than the XS10, but it's still a cheap camera for what you're getting. And I think it's going to be a real sort of budget powerhouse for a lot of people. It's going to welcome a lot of people into the Fuji brand, and it's also going to allow a lot of people to upgrade their video specs. You know, photographers out there are not going to be that interested, but you know, not every camera is for every person. And the one thing I love about Fuji is that there is so much difference between their individual cameras. You know, the X Pro line is nothing like the XH line, and the XT line is nothing like the XE line and the XS lines, etc. So I like the fact that you've got you know, you've got these different choices with fundamentally similar guts inside them. So you've got similar quality, but you've got definitely different user experiences. So, you know, I think the XS20 is going to be a big seller and a camera that I'm fairly sure I'm going to be picking up when it lands in stores very, very soon. So keep your eyes peeled on the channel for that content. Hopefully, I'm not quite sure if I'm going to grab one of the early ones or whether or not I'm going to wait a little bit. I haven't decided yet. You know, keep your eyes peeled for that. But as soon as I've got something and I've got some content to put out, trust me, it'll be appearing here on the channel. But yeah, I think all in all, you know, impressed with the overall with the XS20. I think for the money, like I say, it's a good package. There's a few little things that are a bit frustrating. Obviously, would have liked full-size HDMI, but again, it's a fairly, you know, mid-range camera, so you know, not surprised that that's not been included. And the fact that they've kept a pretty low magnification viewfinder, so the EVF is it looks like it's not going to be great. So that's the only thing, which is a bit of a shame. But you know, if you want the best, then you get an XH2 or an XH2S. If you know, but you have to compromise somewhere. So, you know, I understand that it's not going to do everything, but the headlines are better IBIS, better video specs, you know, generally better processing, better autofocus, and taking what was already a really good camera and a well thought of camera and has just made it that much better and that much more appealing. So overall, quite pleased. I think it was good. There wasn't. I was hoping there might be a little surprise in there somewhere. I was hoping they might announce some upcoming lenses coming forward, but you know, nothing has been announced so far that at least I'm aware of. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, so that's my quick reaction, rambling thoughts on the XS20. Obviously, I've not seen it, not touched it, not played with it, not done anything hands-on. I'm just reacting to what I've seen on the internet. So I'd like to know what you think. You know, am I right? You know, do you think I'm right that the XS20 is actually a good thing for Fuji to launch, or are they losing their way? Should they have launched an X Pro instead and left the more popular sort of consumer creator market till later? You know, I don't know. I think it's the right move, and I think financially it'll make sense for Fuji, and I think they'll sell quite a few of these because it's a lot of camera for the money. But yeah, I want to know what you think about the camera and the lens, and you know, if you've used the X app, obviously let me know how you've got on with it. Let me know in the comments. If you like this video, obviously give me a like and a subscribe. I've got plenty more Fujifilm videos in the pipeline. This is a fairly new channel, and I've been a little bit slow to get it moving, but there will be more videos coming very soon. So I will see you soon, and bye-bye.